Hey everyone, so this is Elementary Season 5, Episode 7 called Bang Shoot Chute. And basically the episode opens up with Joan having dinner with her sister Lynn. And Lynn brings up something that's concerning her. She saw Shinwell outside of his apartment talking to someone who looked like he was still either used to be in a gang or still part of a gang. And so then it goes to two men on a skyscraper, basically, and diving off. And one of them gets shot on the way down. And the person that had gotten shot, his name is Bennett Neely. He's an Army vet, parachute instructor, and I think Marcus said something about being a minor YouTube star or something like that. And Marcus brings up the fact that even if Bennett hadn't been shot, he still would have died because his parachute was sabotaged. So Sherlock thinks that there are two people at play here, the shooter and this saboteur. Marcus, Sherlock, and Joan then question Bennett's wife. It turns out all the chutes he had in his storage shed were sabotaged. And she offers an alibi that she was at a bar till 2 a.m. and dropped her last friend off at 3 in the morning since she was the designated driver. And she drops the name Mark Trenchman, who is Bennett's cameraman. She knows Mark couldn't have been the shooter if he was jumping off of Bennett, but Mark could have sabotaged Bennett's chutes. It turns out Marky Bennett had a business partner named Arturo, who had died 3 months prior in a diving accident. What happened was Bennett and Arturo were diving. They had gotten too close to each other and ended up colliding, which also resulted in Arturo's chute not deploying, and he died on impact when he hit the ground. Mark blamed Bennett for colliding into Arturo, and Bennett blamed Mark for not warning him that he and Arturo were too close. The previous night's jump was supposed to be in memory of Arturo, but she's suggesting that Mark had something else in mind. We come to find out later that Mark Trenchman's phone was found in a trash can a block away from the crime scene, and they figured he had, thrown it away. Sherlock thinks that they will find Mark in an hour or so because Mark recently bought an AK camera that is pre-equipped with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and costs between $50,000 and $70,000. Sherlock managed to figure out the camera serial number and can ping that to its last known location. Later at the station, Sherlock and Joan find out from Marcus that they found Mark in a hotel near the jump site, and Lynn is there at the police station looking at old mugshots to see if the person she saw talking to Shinwell is there. So Sherlock goes into the interrogation room just by himself with Marcus, while Joan goes to help her sister. Mark is then claiming in interrogation that he didn't kill Bennett. No big surprise there, because he was doing because they had put everything past them. Mark wanted to make a documentary of Arturo's death, though, but Bennett didn't, and he find all this out, and also find out that Bennett wouldn't sign off on Mark using footage of that contained him in it, that contained Bennett in it. And since Bennett wasn't pretty much all the footage, the documentary was squashed. Mark says that he was hiding because he thought he was next, and that he knows of only one person who was good enough to be able to shoot Bennett out of the air like that, and she had ample enough reason to kill both of them. Her name is Eliza Alzado, and she's the sister of Arturo. But she also said that she didn't kill Bennett because he was doing everything possible to make up for Arturo dying. He was making face-to-face apologies. He promised to pay for Arturo's kids to go to college, and he was working on working with Arturo before he died on his memoirs, and he continued to work on his Arturo's memoirs even after he had died. So the book would have meant a huge cash payout to Arturo's kids anyway. So even if she had hated Bennett, she wouldn't kill him to mess up his kids' chances of getting money that would pretty much cover their college tuition anyway. She offers her rifle for testing as well, and is confident that the rifle would not match the gun. Sherlock then goes back home, having picked up the memoir on the way back, and says that I think he mentions that the rifle doesn't match the round that was used to kill Bennett. I think he did. I don't remember. But he also found something. He found a picture of a group of men, including Arturo and Bennett, around a pile of money, which was tens of millions of dollars. It was to help fund whether it's the Afghanistan war, Iraq war, or both. I don't know. I don't think they said, but it was to fund one of them, or both, possibly. Anyway, so a large portion of that shipment is rumored to have gone missing. Joan reveals that she looked through Bennett's financials, but didn't see that he was sitting on millions of dollars. What she did see, however, was a cash deposit of $500,000 that was deposited into a shell account that he controls, which was deposited 6 months prior. And it was from a company of some company I don't know the name of. I don't remember the name. Joan then thinks Bennett decided to blackmail the other men that took the money he and Arturo didn't take. Sherlock then tries to get help from his friend Theodore the next day, or later that day, or whatever. But Theodore is skeptical because it would, ruffle feathers and get him in trouble or whatever. Sherlock then offers a deal to Theodore. Theodore gives Sherlock the names of the 4 other men in the picture, and Sherlock will give him the name of the girl that's smitten with him. Joan is then seen meeting with Laquan Eversley, aka Tallboy. Tallboy says it wasn't his idea to meet Shinwell. It was Shinwell's idea to meet. So that revelation is made. Declan Boyle, who is a person, one of the people, or one of the men in the pictures, meets with Sherlock, and Sherlock pretty much tells him that he assumes Declan took the money because Declan has this fancy watch on his wrist. Declan's car outside is pretty fancy for a guy who's pretty fancy, and Declan also bought a condo recently. I think he said it was in Midtown, and all this stuff is fancy considering that he is a contractor. So Declan then says that since everyone else is making money off the war, they should get a fee until they stop contracting. And he says he never killed anyone, and that the money he took wouldn't have covered all the stuff that he bought. What he had done was he invested the money in off-the-books high-interest loans, or what Sherlock calls as a loan shark. Bennett was making loan payments of $10,000 per month every month successfully, and he never missed one. Basically, never missed a payment. And what Bennett bought was a skydiving plane. Though Bennett wasn't the one who was flying the plane, obviously. The person who was supposedly flying the plane was this guy named Chet Polian, and the reason I put quotations around that is, as you all have seen later in the episode of what we find out. Anyway, you come to find out Bennett's mother's from Winnipeg, which makes him a dual citizen, so he could have easily gotten a Canadian business license because if he wanted, because we come to find out also that Bennett was making regular trips to and from Canada. So it's kind of clear because of the fact that he went through shady channels to get this plane and stuff, that he was smuggling something. Whether it's drugs or something else, we don't know, but Sherlock thinks it's something else other than drugs. So Sherlock opens the cargo hold where you would put baggage and other sorts of luggage, and finds 2 seats in there. So we find out that Bennett was smuggling people. Back in Gregson's office, Sherlock and Joan inform him that Bennett and Chet would have people apply for a tourist visa to Canada and smuggle them on their plane to America. And it turns out this Chet Polian is actually a retiree confined to a nursing home in San Diego. So the person who was flying the plane used Chet's old flying license, and the person's fingerprints are on file. Marcus is apparently looking through surveillance videos to see who the pilot was, and Marcus then comes in and says that they have a problem. Turns out one of the people on the surveillance video from a few months prior is Kedar Durrani, who is a wanted Taliban warlord. Marcus then meets with Dave, a man who was paid by Bennett to drive his passengers from the airport time to time. And they need to know, and Marcus is asking where Kadir is. While they get all that information, Shinwell is seen playing chess in the park when Sherlock pays to play him. Sherlock warns him to not backslide into prison, basically, and Shinwell's like, thanks for the concern, I won't. Gregson, Sherlock, and then Sherlock is, receives a text message from Gregson, and so basically Sherlock has to forfeit the game to go do all this. Gregson, Sherlock, and John talk to Durrani and his wife, and she and him want to get asylum because the Taliban put a hit out on Kadir. Gregson says, well, seeing as how you brought this up, we have it on good authority that Kadir is a Taliban commander. She says that Kadir only cooperated with the Taliban because they took control over the village Durrani was the chieftain of. And Durrani's wife says Bennett and the pilot got into a heated argument, which ended in an altercation, basically pushing, shoving, whatever you want to call an altercation. She then she didn't offer, but she, when Gregson asks for her to give a sketch, she says, okay, fine. Marcus and Sherlock then go talk to this guy named Gordon Kasdan, and he claims he knew nothing of what Bennett was doing after he admits that he was the pilot of the plane. Marcus tells Kasdan that they are looking for a murderer and an attempted murderer. Kasdan confesses to sabotaging the shoots, but Sherlock doesn't believe it. They then bring in Bennett's wife, and we find out that she's the daughter of Kasdan because they have the same three genetic conditions. Sherlock makes the point that if she had only one of the three same conditions, or genetic conditions as Kazan, they necessarily wouldn't have brought her in, but because she has all three, that's why they brought her in. She sabotaged Bennett's shoots, and I want to point out that about halfway into the episode, possibly a little bit later, like a little bit later than halfway into the episode, I figured something was off with her, because it's like, I mean, it just, something, I was realizing something felt off about her. I was like, girl, really? Anyway, so she's the one who sabotaged his shoots because she heard him on the phone with a woman a few weeks prior to this, and she found when she didn't see any text to a woman or any phone calls to a woman on his actual cell phone that he always kept around her. She went snooping and found a disposable phone in his car with text messages and phone calls to the woman that he was talking to. And one of the text messages says that he is willing to leave his wife for this other woman named John. And when she called her dad, he told her that all of this could be solved with a pair of scissors and a trip to the storage shed. And at the last minute, she tried to get him to call off the jump because something had changed. She doesn't say what changed, but something changed, I guess, within her to make him to get him to call off the jump. Shaw thinks the sniper, like Bennett's wife, was motivated by Bennett's affair. They need to act quickly before the guy ends up, getting away with it. They then bring the Duranis back in and tell them they suspect the woman Bennett was having an affair with was the daughter Zohala, because of the fact that they sidestepped a question that they had asked earlier when they were brought in, that was concerning their daughter. Turns out she had run away after Kadir's wife and his son Marjan had come into the country. Turns out that when Kadir was with the Taliban, his son Marjan was a shooter for the Taliban as well. They had filled him with what you would call the old ways of what's in the Quran, I guess. And it basically says that if a woman were to have sex out of wedlock, she dishonors her whole family, and that the only way to restore it is if blood is spilled. So they asked for them to give them his location, and he is found with a rifle about to shoot his sister outside a mosque. Joan then goes to Shinwell's, and after they catch Marjan, and she goes to his apartment after he texts her, and he basically pushes her away by saying she can't help him. That is the entire episode. I mean, this is like another standard episode. I mean, it wasn't terribly exciting. Nothing. I mean, by that I mean nothing like spectacular happened. The only thing of note that happened is concerning Shinwell well, I mean, we're gonna see Shinwell again. I mean, I doubt that his storyline is over. I am thinking that what's gonna happen is he's going to end up doing something that he's gonna regret, and then end up coming to Joan for help. I think I made that prediction before, or something similar to it. So I'm gonna make it again. Basically, he's gonna end up doing something that he is gonna regret. He's gonna come to he's gonna come to Joan for help about it, and he's gonna end up working with her anyway as a detective. I mean, so there's that. The only thing that I kind of have a question about is with the whole storyline of Sherlock and Fiona, because I think it was at the end of last episode they had alluded to the fact that Sherlock was going to break up with Fiona, and they had ended the episode with Sherlock receiving a call from Fiona for a Skype date, and before Sherlock answers the call, he's reciting this passage Joan had told him earlier in the episode that was about telling people bad news, and basically was alluding to the fact that he was going to break up with Fiona. So I don't know for sure if that actually happened. I would like to get some closure on that and about if that actually happened. And I kind of want to get like an in-depth thing about it, besides the in passing comment that they're most likely going to give us, because I mean, true to elementary fashion, a lot of times what they do is when the writers have, like, you know, forgotten, like, I guess you could say forgotten the storyline, or put a storyline to the side, they do this. They have done it for a long time, like a couple months. They bring it up in passing, and then don't ever mention it again. Like they literally just say it, like have one of the characters mention it once, like as they're talking about the case of the week, and then completely not bring it up for months. So I'm thinking what's going to happen is he's going to say something about how Sherlock had broken up with Fiona, and how it's been a couple months since he had broken up with her. Now he's going to need to get back out there, and then that's going to be it, and that's all we're going to hear about it. I'm like, well, I mean, kind of want something more than that. I mean, I would like to see, you know, Fiona trying to win back his affections or something. I don't know, something like that. I mean, but something more. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, that was my only biggest, like, thing this episode, is that they kind of just didn't say anything about it. And I was like, okay, I mean, what's the point then? I mean, what was the point of having, like, putting him together what was the point of putting him with Fiona if he was gonna break up with her? Like, what was the point of putting him together with Fiona in, like, the middle of season 4, not mention her again until months later, towards the end of the season, and then completely not talk about her until episode 6 of Elementary, and then have him break up with her? What was the point? What was the point? I mean, then you might as well not fucking put them together in the first place. Then, I mean. So anyway, that was my biggest gripe this episode. That was my only gripe about this episode. Other than that, it was just standard, and I don't think we're done with Shenmue at all. With that said, next week's episode looks like a guy was killed because of cannibalism. Who knows? I'm looking forward to, because I don't think they've mentioned anything about cannibalism before. If they did, I don't remember it. Anyway, I think we're due for seeing Sherlock's father. I think his name is Moreland or something like that. Moreland Holmes. I think that's it. Or maybe I'm thinking of the brother. But either way, we're overdue with seeing both the brother and the father, because we haven't seen the father since last season. So I mean, I'm pretty sure. I think I remember them saying that they put the father back in London, but we're due for seeing the father sometime, either on a business trip to New York or whatever, and we're definitely overdue with seeing the brother. Yeah, it was Moreland's the father, Mycroft's the brother. But yeah, we're due to see both of them because we haven't seen Mycroft in I think over a year. So we're due to see Mycroft sometime soon, even though he's in witness protection and everything. So we're due to see him soon, hopefully. We haven't seen him since he got into that shit with his business partners or whatever. So there's that. So that's basically all I have for this episode. With all that said, safe travels to anyone who is celebrating Thanksgiving later this week, and who is traveling to go spend time with their families for Thanksgiving. Safe travels for that, and happy holidays. And please don't break your bank for Black Friday this week. Don't do it. I get it's for Christmas next month, but try to not break your piggy bank. Please try not to break that. Because it's not really worth it. I mean, if you can, try to save as much as you can. I get that that's the whole point of Black Friday, but still, I mean, try to be reasonable here. But anyway, enough of my rambling. I'll see you guys next week on Elementary. Bye.